we might have questions from the online audience later or something.
No,
Oh, how much is the recording?
yeah, it's recording
Oh.
because it's recording on.
Yeah. I don't know why it just makes this little weird part here. Sometimes I full for this. It makes it wider, you know.
I guess it's because it's kind of like it's not like square.
But it's not what it's for 16
Yeah.
so.
It's open.
I think we have a few more minutes. I'm going to try to open with some.
The next again.
I don't know, let's try.
No.
This. And this is more center. So,
There is more sense.
and, so how much time do we actually have? And how fast I can speak?
It depends on you actually, yeah, but as long as it's for it's so like two. You probably start. That's the first
So
one.
I first, you know your students. Will you guys have any questions?
I hope they will.
Because I would like to answer questions. Questions are cool. Questions makes you think actually. So that's even a stupid. I don't believe in stupid questions. Okay. Really, like because lots of people ask me, "Oh, because Poland is cold, right?" And people like I hate winter spirits, and people ask me, "Well, why are you from Poland? Why do you feel cold?" I'm like, "I'm still human." You know? I don't like cold. There also we build buildings in Poland differently, and they're warm inside. So anyway,
I think I asked it question.
I think for almost everybody, first question, where are you from? America? No. And then Poland, oh, and then it's like, and then when the winter comes and you see me in this park and it goes to my knees and I'm like this, and I'm like, why are you cold? Because it's like, oh, why do you think I moved to Taiwan? It's like 30 degrees in most of the year, you know? I like cold.
I think I asked you at the last one.
Yeah, that's for Russia, you know, it's probably more. Well, Kazakh,
Yeah. Do you want to have a little bit of food or you want to?
No, it's like, I don't want to like, I'll wait and I can eat it later, it's okay.
Okay, so we'll start.
I have a protein bar on the way.
We'll start in approximately 5 minutes.
So I will do.
I have no idea if I'm going to this short anyway, so.
I don't know, lots of black boxes.
Yeah, because they're supposed to come, but some of them have.
I was excited to stay here, you know, for something.
I'm afraid that they're going to have classes up.
I'm going to adjust to you.
So we'll start in 5. And let these go. I have to go from the top and it's actually not so like. Because I need somebody to do and I have the class. So I can never have to basically yes, all right. All right.
I had more for mostly for minimizing for fun. I actually had lots of fun making this presentation. Because there are some things I think lots of people feel deeply in their hearts with like rarely opportunity to say so. So hey, I'm gonna indoctrinate the whole 7 of you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what I'm going to do with that consistency. So they force it.
So I need to charge it and give them into, you know, their students, they're poor, they can keep it for the next 2 days. For dinner and the next breakfast and the next lunch and dinner, you know, like 2 days more for food, you know.
Let's start. How about that? You continue eating, don't worry. If your friends are coming, tell them where it is. All right. Yes, sir.
Sure. So I'll start with introducing myself a little bit. My name is Tim. I mean, there's the shortcut. My full name is Timoteusz Bryx, and I'm from Poland. And I generally speak fast. I will speak in my normal way. If it's too fast or too slow, which would be first, but then let me know. I'll adjust. Okay. Okay. Cool. So Poland, and the title, which when I sent it to Rimus, she was like, "Are you sure?" Poland, the country of bitter people. Yes, yes, we are, and we have a reason. But let's start with the nice things. I don't actually like my country very much. That's why I live here. But there are a few things about Poland that I think are nice. And first of them will be nature. These are Polish mountains. In the summer, there's one in the lake in the winter. Polish seaside, which again, Polish sea is pretty, but you can swim in it in about like a month of the year because Polish summer lasts for about 2 weeks with this temperature, and But hey, we're used to it, so Polish people go all the time. I love kayaking. I kayaked since I was 7 cities or something. Polish rivers are beautiful. We have lots of history, castles and stuff. Because Poland was founded in 966, and I'll get to that later. But yes, we are not the most forested country in Europe, but we have a lot of forests, about 13%, which Poland, compared to Taiwan in size, is about 10 times bigger, which means we have, if you would destroy everything in Taiwan and plant a tree next to a tree, we would have 3 times of trees in Poland. So that's quite a lot of trees, and they're beautiful. And we have actually, this is a bison, which is a Polish version of a bison, and they live exclusively here. That's Puszcza Białowieska, which is the oldest forest in Europe. It's about like the origins, like the primal forest that is still there. It's about like 3,000-4,000 years old, like that. It's again untouched by humans. We have a beautiful ocean, so with all these beautiful things, and we have Poland is not very homogeneous. I mean, mostly, but we do have some local dialects and cultures. So this is the north, which is north of Poland, is the land of lakes. There's hundreds, and not as many as in Finland, because that country is basically just lakes. But there's a lot of them. They have the traditional food. There's also sailing, riding boats, kind of blue color patterns and ceramics and all that stuff. These are traditional. I don't know what it's kind of like a big trumpet, which you can do very, very loud. We have also the southern group, Górale, which actually they are quite famous, and I would say they're more prominent in Polish history and culture because it's always like this with mountain people. Any country you go, which was conquered originally, as a country, they have mountain people with their traditions, and their way of life, and they're different. The problem is they're used to mountains, and any country like America, which went to Afghanistan, for example, or Iraq and stuff, it's really hard to fight against mountain people because you can't bring your tanks and your airplanes and stuff. And one guy, with a good gun and a good eye, who knows the land, can stop the whole column of soldiers basically. And so they were a crucial part in lots of Polish insurrections and fight for independence and stuff. So they have a certain leverage, more leeway in the country's politics and stuff as a group. And again, there's beautiful nature, and we have beautiful mountains. This is a Polish shepherd dog, which I used to have actually. Very big, fluffy dog. We weigh like 60 kilograms or something like that. Probably more than you. I have in my life, I love animals. I have 4 dogs. I have 2 cats now. I have a ferret, fish, African snails, guinea pig, and something else. And here's again, they make, so again, they're mountain people. They have lots of sheep, and this is a sheep milk-made cheese, which is a bit more salty and savory, but I love it. So we have a lot of these kind of things. Food, because everybody likes delicious food. Kanapki, which is kind of a sandwich, but it's very different than most sandwiches. Most sandwiches around the world have 2 pieces of bread, right? You put it between, which the natural evolution is the burger, right? But we do it this way: slice of bread, butter, you put whatever you want on it, and just stuff your face, and it's delicious. We have herring and cream, like sour cream, and with the bacteria thing saying this is what you eat after the heavy night of drinking. And we have a saying that the fish like to swim, so you drink alcohol and you eat this. or how they goes all together. But yeah, there's actually, in Polish, it means misery. And it's a cucumber salad with sour cream and a little bit of salt. And I think that's why it's called misery, because just cucumber and sour cream. And you're just like, what is this about? But it's actually pretty tasty. Because which is translated into hunters too, it looks quite disgusting because it's like this brown, sludgy thing. But it's actually delicious. It's a cabbage, sausages, mushrooms, and some spices and stuff, which you put in a iron cast pot, preferably, and you stew it for like 2 days. You just leave it in a very small pan and you just leave it in the kitchen for like 2 days until it goes brown and disgustingly ugly, and that's when you know it's delicious. And it's very, very yummy. So we have a lot of this kind of food as well that, like, well, this translates into hoofs, like horse hoofs, because it looks like a little tiny hoof. Or the wonky, which is Pidgin dialect in translation, which is meat wrapped in the cabbage leaves. Pierogi, you might have them on pierogi. Pierogi are kind of famous on the internet. The savory ones and the sweet ones. Because, so a lot of those things come from the part I'm going to get to, where Polish people had to, we were a poor country for recent history, relatively speaking. And so, you know, people had to come up with invention. Okay, well, how do I make something tasty from things that I have, right? And so we came with a lot of things. If you do go to Poland, you should definitely try these 3 types of cakes because they're yummy. This is one thing between Poland and I think generally Europe and Taiwan. We like much stronger flavors. When I came to Taiwan for like the first 2 years, I was carrying like this salt pepper piece with my bag, and I would just spice every meal that I ate until I got used to it. Because yeah, like this is a heavy cream. You eat a slice of this and you'll be full. So you know we like this heavy, strong flavors. But we also don't have, for example, lots of fruits, right? We have a seasonal fruits, forest fruit, berries. That is, I like berries, strawberries, raspberries, currant, black currant, all this stuff. That's what we used to eat. So, you know, how from all these nice things and nice nature and good food, we became like this, like the title of my presentation. This is, by the way, I took this picture from one of some senior. This guy is 16 years old, and he looks like this. Okay, that's desperation right there. We have lots of protests going on for the recent years because can't be very clearly seen, but we can see that this is darkest color. Poland, Greece, we have the highest number of annual work hours. We work lots. Our managers ask us to work overtime as well, and of course, that's kind of everywhere, except Western Europe. That's why we don't like Western Europe. But I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, so, and this is in Polish, but this is the Safe at Work 2024 study, which, well, studying young people at work, and they found, oh, yeah, like you graduate from university, you get to your first job, and you already want to kill yourself. So, because Polish people don't really see perspective, like we don't feel like we have a future, like a good future ahead of us, right? I think again, that's kind of a feeling everywhere. Like you guys are like, oh, I'll have to work 40 years to have a down payment for an apartment, and then I pay it, and hopefully when I retire, I'll be safe, right? So it's kind of similar here anyway. But yeah, it's not great. So why did it happen? And also, there are basically 2 Polands. There's not really one Poland. There are 2. So this is the elections from 2010 for president. This is for 2023 for parliament. And you can kind of clearly see, you don't need to know who is which side, I'll say that. Right? Western side votes for one thing, Eastern side votes for the other thing. Which is strange, because usually it's more, for example, this is also here, city, of course, capital city, so that's why, you know, I explain. But usually it's more like the population of the city, right? For example, more progressive, more democratic, industry, farmers, right? Countryside people, more conservative. But it's not like this here, and I'll explain why. So we have Northern Europe, right? Western, Northern, of course, being Norway, Finland, and all the stuff. Western culture coming from France, generally speaking. Southern, that's of course Italy. Balkans, and then we have Eastern. So geographically, Poland is Central Europe, but culturally, we're way more Eastern. See, actually, this starts Poland. This is majority of Poland here, and so If you ask most of Polish people, they will absolutely deny it. They say, no, we're a Western country, we're Western Europe. We're not. Half of our country is, but that is not exactly, those are not exactly fully Polish people, I can't really say that, but there's a reason for this. So, like I said, Poland was founded as a modern country in 966, so over 1,000 years ago. And it was mostly founded, there was a country, it was a nation, but the country is in the modern sense because Teutons, which are the Germanic tribes, and which adopted Christianity a bit earlier, were using it as an excuse to, well, raid and pillage Poland. Because they're like, well, you're heathens. We need to bring religion to your God, so we're going to kill you all. And so at the time, Polish king was like, well, if we take this new thing and we also do it, then maybe they'll stop killing us. That would be nice. So we adopted Christianity and it kind of stayed. And through the ages, we grew a bit bigger, a bit smaller, but the peak of Polish power was 16th to 18th century. This is actually, we were quite big from like 14th century, and this is the peak. Yeah, like 16th, 17th century, we're actually bigger. As you can see, we covered lots of other countries. We were at this time probably the biggest country, the richest country, or one of the richest countries, let's speak more difficult to count. And we had a very big military power. We were really big players. And the peak of that would be, this is one of the days that every single, like you ask Polish people, doesn't matter how old they are, this is something that is hammered into our heads during school. Siege of Vienna, 1683. Ottoman Empire, Turkey, modern Turkey, and Islam taking over Europe, pouring in. And they go to Vienna, 150,000 soldiers surrounded a city with defenders of about 15,000. After a month or two of a siege, in fact, 60% of them were dead. So it wasn't looking good. And Vienna was the main stronghold of Habsburg monarchy on the way. If they take Vienna, they have open way to Germany, to France, to Italy, and Europe becomes Muslim. And in a rare occurrence of international cooperation, Polish Kingdom, Holy Roman Empire, which is Germany, but it was called a different way, because Germany, as we know, it's very modern actually. Before it was the lands, the duchies and all that stuff, they were very, very independent. They kind of worked together, kind of like the United States right now, because each state is kind of like a different country when they make a federation, right? So 65,000 soldiers from Poland and Holy Roman Empire, and a little bit from other places basically, but there were two biggest contributors, came to relieve Vienna. And that was the biggest cavalry charge in the history of the world. 80,000 horsemen charged the guns, the pikes, and all the Ottoman soldiers, and we rolled over them like a butter. And that is kind of funny because, well, I mean, first of all, this is one thing I do like in my country. Winged Hussars were the elite heavy shock cavalry of the time, and they were undefeated basically everywhere they went. It came to the point there's a battle, I actually forgot the name because it wasn't important, because they were never a battle actually. There was, I think again, one of the German lords or something wanted to attack southern Poland, and he sent 20,000 soldiers. And the prince of the city that was, well, kind of targeted, sent 200 of Winged Hussars to meet them. And the thing is that it never came to the battle. When the scouts of the army saw the wings, they came and said, hey, they sent these guys. And they just surrendered. They didn't even fight. They were just like, okay, sorry, we're out. But the thing is, most countries at that time were stopping to use cavalry. Poland was different. Why? Because at the time, pikemen came to be, which is a soldier with a very, very long and sharp stick, which is about 5 meters long. And, you know, it looked like this and looked like horses, right? And so there were some problems with the cavalry. And, you know, the king's advisors were telling them, keep that. But the Polish king was like, no, make it work. And so they, well, basically they're like, they have a 5 meter stick. We need a longer stick. And they made glasses that were like 7, 8 meters long. They were hollow inside, but because they were hollow, they were long, they could be longer. And they were like, well, I can poke you before you can poke me. We're still in the game. And it worked for some time at least, until there were too many guns and they were too accurate. And yeah. Well, that was a proud moment in Polish history. So from this, we came this. Do you see Poland here? No, really. You have Holy Roman Empire. This is Poland here. This is Poland, modern Poland. Holy Roman Empire goes this. Habsburg monarchy take this, and Russian Empire take that. In 3 partitions, the neighboring powers basically after that happened, and they were kind of like, you know what? We don't like competition for power in Europe. The Polish people are too long, too good. We need to take them apart, and they did. It's more complicated and longer than that, but yeah, for 123 years, Poland disappeared from the map of history, and that is a part where it starts the title of this presentation, Why We Became a Bigger Nation, because that's basically modern history, relatively the most modern history, right? We appeared back on the map in 1980, right? After World War I, Polish kingdom came back to me, and it looked like this, right? And so if you actually look at that map, right, it just kind of retained the same shape, kind of shrunk, right? And so, because for those 133 years, when they were occupied, right, German people settled here, right? Russian people settled here. And so this is the ethnically Polish people kind of made in this side, right? That's where they retain the most culture, right? Their most identity and so on. And that's why you have this. Look at that line, right? The purple line. And now look at this. That line goes along here. That's why I say Poland is actually an Eastern European country, not Western. Because those people that pull us to the West, they're Polish, right? They're Polish like descendants and all that stuff, but there's mixed. There's lots of people who different music, different culture coming in from the West. Yeah, so that was 1918. And then we had about, 30 years of independence and fun and rebuilding and everything. And then World War II came. And we get screwed again. And that's how it comes. So in here, Western powers, plus Russia, took Poland apart. And we learned about it in school as like main part. And then the thing is, before World War II started, actually the Poland at this time was pretty good. We were bouncing back, we had lots of people, okay, we're finally, back on the map, right? We're rebuilding our country. And on March 31st, 1933, after Hitler annexed Czechoslovakia, Polish government got assurances and agreements. We got a defensive military alliance with UK and France. That's Germany, and any one of them, and any one of us, we go to each other's country, right? And then they attacked us. And they didn't come to our help. They just left us. The British Air Force did drop a little bit of supplies, like the first week, kind of a little bit, and then like, they literally actually dropped pamphlets. We were basically telling Germans, like, hey, bad thing, don't do this, go home. That's the extent of their help. And so, we felt quite betrayed. And especially that lots of Polish soldiers were able to escape. There was a Polish government in the UK in exile. Lots of Polish air pilots escaped, and they were asked to let us fight. Battle of Britain, we all learned in the modern history Battle of Britain and East Europe, how Germany was trying to take over, right, the sky over Europe, over Britain. And Polish pilots were not allowed to fly. There was a big political battle to let them fly. And what they did, Division 303, which was Polish division, is one of the most decorated divisions of Royal Air Force in history, with the most shot German airplanes. But every year after the war, when there's a parade commemorating that, we were not invited. After war finished, where were Polish generals, commander of the Home Army, deputy prime minister, chairman of the underground parliament? They were not returned to Poland. They were in the Russian, well, Soviet prison. And after that, Russian secret police took them, beat them up, killed them. I mean, not all of them, some survived, some went back, you know, like lots of them. This is what we in schools are taught as Western betrayal. Because basically the American president, Churchill, and Stalin in the Alta Conference decided that the line of influence goes through Germany, right? Soviet Union goes this way, Allies goes this way, and so everything east from the line goes under Soviet influence. Soviets who, when stabbed us in the back and they took prisoners of war, they just executed 20,000 of them, throw them into mass graves in the Wisconsin, and for many, many years denied that it never happened. When the Soviet Union collapsed and the Russian Federation came to be, they were like, finally, they're like, oh yes, it happened, but those guys, they did this, like, that's not us, right? We're not the same people anymore, so don't blame us. The previous government, right? Nothing to do with it. And yeah, so we have a justifiable hate to the east and justifiable hate to the west because everybody left us. And for about 40 years, 45 years, that's how the Polish Socialist Republic. And so when I now hear and watch YouTube videos from American universities, Canadian universities, when they are singing Marxist songs and saying, yeah, you know, communism, we should have it in Canada. And I'm like, you dumb people. Let's call them people. I grew up in it, so I grew up a little bit after that. I did that when I was, you know, what do I remember from when I was 7 years old? You know, like I kind of forgot the memories, but I kind of remember how American movies came to Poland, the internet, and we were like 10, 20 years behind West. And my father, they still remember, I have photos, right, of my parents, you know, standing in a queue like this, where you were like clothing store. This is butchers. Then they're over. You're like one piece of meat that came, and I just, you know, you wouldn't actually even buy anything. You have to know people. I have a friend who works in a butcher shop, so I can get you meat. You work in a sports shop, so you get me a pair of jeans, and we trade. That's how you did it. Because so we had to come up with innovative ways. That's why we came out with all this food. And like, okay, how can I make something that my child will not throw in my face from the things that I have? That is hard to get anyway. Meat was a, you know, Sunday thing, right? It was a celebratory thing. And so again, like, communism doesn't work. People who scream socialism and scream communism in Western countries never actually went through that. And it's a huge arrogance because all they say is like, oh, yes, oh, we can look at Soviet Russia. No, we can look at communist China. No. If I do it, it will work. It won't. And that's why I'm very hard resisting all these kind of things. And I will die on that hill because no, communism is not good. Socialism is not good. Capitalism and democracy is not good either, but it's better than that. Because in socialist Polish Republic and communist China, you can't say Xi Jinping looks like we need a coup. No, you can't. You will just you'll disappear. And same in Poland at that time. If you would write a book that would make fun of Soviet Russia or the government, you disappeared. There were the Polish secret police, Uzbeki, where, yeah, you would just like, Salvio, where is Johnny? He didn't come to work. We don't know, and you don't want to ask any questions. And then you would come back 5 days later, it's like, and nobody would ask any questions. Everybody knew what happened. Nobody would ask any questions. There was censorship. Whenever you wrote a book, you made a movie, you painted the painting. Is it patriotic enough? Is it Soviet enough? No, it's not. Cannot publish it. And so, you know, this is the stamp from actually the censorship office that it allows to be published. This is a poster that somebody put, which says, 2 days without newspapers is 2 days without lies. Because it was all propaganda. And so I'm very sensitive for that, for those things. And so that's why I have a lot of foreign friends here. I have Canadian friends, American friends, I have Taiwanese friends. And, you know, when I talk with them, sometimes we don't fight, we have heated discussions. Because I'm like, no, I mean, my childhood is in that. My parents lived through that and told me stories. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. Like, what you have is not great, but you don't want that. It's not good. And then 1989 came, right? Soviet Republic collapsed because basically, yeah, communism doesn't have good economy. China doesn't have good economy. It's fake economy. And so it same happened here. And it was a relatively peaceful revolution. Poland was one of the first countries to break away from Soviet Union. This is Lech Wałęsa. He was a shipyard worker who later became president, actually. And a lot of people laughed at him, and like Western leaders didn't treat him very seriously because he was not an educated man. He spoke in a legal funny way, but he was not stupid. He was not educated. That's not the same. And you know, they took out Poland from poor country to quite doing not bad. There were reforms, and the same thing, like Argentina, Milei, what Trump is doing now, what he says about tariffs, we need to bring manufacturing back to the USA. It's a good intention. Is he doing it in a polite way? No. Lots of people will be upset with him. But normally, to get leaders to the table and actually start on top, there was a TPP, Trans-Pacific Free Trade Agreement. I read about it for like 10 years before it kind of fall apart, and then do it again, and then kind of finished it in some form. He says some stupid things, doesn't make a lot of sense, put some tariffs on everybody, and hey, in 30 days, people are at the table. Is it pretty? No. Does it work? It's a big topic and it's not really, on here, but it is connected. So when we change this, right, when we had this revolution and we break away from Soviet government, there was still a lot of people that were not really from power. But, we try to, when you have a country system, the government system for 50 years, it's hard to just jump something new, right? So there were reforms. Price of electricity 400% up, price of gas 450% up, price of coal, which we use for heating, because Polish winters are cold, 300-something%. It got expensive, it got hard for a few years, but then it got better because reforms need sacrifices. And yeah, in 2004, European Union expanded, this whole Baltic countries in Central Europe joined it. From 2010, we had few factories, few international companies that were there, including Samsung. 2020, we have a lot. And why did that? Because there were, of course, tax breaks and all incentives to invest and all that stuff. And I don't know all the agreements, I read about some of them, but a lot of them included like, okay, you get the land for free. You don't have to pay taxes for 20 years. But you have to hire, 70% Polish people as workers, okay? And after 5 years at least, 30% or 40% of mid-level management has to be Polish people, right? Or something like that. This kind of deals, because what it makes educated labor force, skilled labor force, that later that manager can go away and start his own small business, or go to a different company, or bring that knowledge from a Korean company to a Polish company that makes struggles, right? That's the problem that America has. That Tim Cook recently, I think, said in an interview and asked, okay, with the tariffs, will they bring the iPhone manufacturing to America? I said, no, because we don't have skilled labor here. We don't have people who can do it as quickly and as efficiently and all that stuff as there. Because factory, you can set a factory. If you put a lot of money, you can build a factory quite quickly. But to get people who can do it well inside, it's not as easy, and you still need a lot of people to do that. But that kind of system, again, it took 50 years to actually do this. Well, 10 years is here, but overall the process was longer, still not going and all that stuff. That's good, right? And again, Polish government has a lot of problems, there's lots of things, but overall it did pretty well. But yeah, so and again, after having our cities look like this, which basically it's just not level, it's not what economic challenges, just level the completely Warsaw. There's no building left standing basically. But hey, it made space for new planning, for planning cities that are more open. Like During World War II, you know, French people, the English people complain and stuff. 1.7% different data for different studies give you a little bit different numbers. 1.7% around of British industry got destroyed in bombings. 0.8% of French industry got destroyed during World War II. Around 85% of Polish industry, of factories and stuff, got destroyed in World War II. Or not even destroyed. When the war was going over, Russians literally were going from factory to factory, unscrewing machines, putting them on trucks and taking them back to Russia, leaving just empty walls. So we had to rebuild from that. And this is actually my neighborhood. My house is at the end of that street, but I wanted from this side because there's a nice little park here. And that's how we started building. This is no suburbs. Like Poland is a very different because of the distractions. There are some older cities like the southern part which Germans took, which were they were like, again, because if we go to this, right? There were German history, lots of German history. They want to destroy, they want to take it, right? So they didn't destroy like Russians did everything. They saved some places. This is not so like when we rebuild cities, they're not so crowded. This is city center. This is the middle of Warsaw. Wide spaces, right? This is the train terminal. This is the department store where I used to play board games with my friends. And this is the building that Russians built for eternal sign of friendship between Soviet Union and Poland. Some people say we should demolish it. I'm like, hey, it's still part of history. And it's right now, it's not ugly or something. And that's my university, actually. This part, the university behind you, go over the gate, and there's like a whole stuff. This is old city. It's called old city. Even then, right? We had those townhouses, right? Going like this, but those streets were wide. There was lots of greenery. It looked pretty nice. So, yes. But after all that, Polish people, the revolution, right? And finally the borders opened, we spread out. Right? We were like, yeah, we can leave this wonderful place. And we spread. So actually right now, including all the Polish people and descendants, like the second generation and stuff, there's about 37 million people living in Poland and about 20 million living outside, most in USA and specifically Chicago. I don't know why, but there's like 3 million people, Polish people or Polish descendants living in Chicago. Okay, maybe because it's very cold in winter, so it reminds them of home. And this is controversial graph, which is not the main religions, it's the fastest growing religions. And this is coming to that, how is Poland now? So we have the kind of Christianist, some is Orthodox Christianity, there's Protestant, there's the Catholics, but most of Western Europe is taken over by Muslim immigrants. And it started with Germany, because Germany about 15, 20 years ago were in a similar situation going on the same trajectory as Japan. They were getting old. And they were like, well, we didn't successfully conquer the world militarily, and we want to do it economically. We need to keep going, and so we need young people in factories. Hey, there's lots of people about home over there, let's take them in. The problem is when you take a few million people of a very different culture, is that they don't really assimilate. Because if you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, you just throw me into place. But I know you, and you speak the same language, you have the same culture, I'll stick with you. We'll try to live together because it's easier, right? And so they didn't really assimilate. And actually yesterday, I saw a picture from my friend lives in UK, he moved from Poland to UK, but that was actually from Ireland. In Cork, in Ireland, the city council hall, there was a meeting, and somebody posted a photo. There was an Irish flag and a Pakistani flag in a city hall in Ireland. And you ask yourself, why? That's not really, I'm open. I have many friends of different. I have gay friends, I have transgender friends, I have black friends, Muslim friends, Christian friends. I'm a man. But countries were created because there's a group of people who lived for centuries together, the same culture and beliefs, religion, identity, right? And so that's part of the reason why Poland now sees themselves in the same position as this. We see Europe besieged by Islam. I'm not saying I agree with this or not. This is just what is happening from Polish perspective. And so we see ourselves again in this situation. We are protecting Christianity in Poland. 96% of Polish people are Christian. And so, yeah, we see ourselves as a remaining of the Christian faith in Europe, kind of. And so, yeah, 3 pillars of Polish culture: football, Christianity, and martyrdom. Why? Because football is a sport for cool people. I had football. My ball looked like this. Everybody had this. Why not basketball? Why not baseball? This is Polish volleyball team, for example, which is 3 times world champions. They are amazing. Nobody cares. Nobody really watches them. They for a gold medal, last gold medal 2023, they got about 6 million Taiwan dollars for the whole team to divide. Polish football team, for losing 3 games in the world champions, got 20 million. Because you can play this anywhere. The only thing you need is a ball and a little bit of space. If we indoor, outdoor, parking lot, grass, whatever, you say, okay, there's 1 goal, between this rock and that wall is a 2nd goal, we play. That's all you need. So it's a poor people's sport. Christianity, like I said, we had a long history, we adopted Christianity, we stayed through it. But I'm not a religious person, I'm very rare in Poland, I'm an atheist, I don't really believe in ghosts. But to give the credit where credit is due, churches in Poland played a big role. They were, again, so this is 45 monastery of Częstochowa, which resisted Swedish invasion, for example. 160 soldiers resisted for few months of 2,500 Swedish soldiers with cannons and stuff. So there's a beautiful book about it. They played a big role in World War I and World War II as spies, as sanctuaries, as helping people. So I'm not denying that. And this is Polish Pope, Jan Paweł II, which is, I don't know if he's more important than Jesus Christ literally in Poland, but there's probably a competition going on there. But because of all of that, they did amass a big power and wealth. This is, for example, Tadeusz Rydzyk, a priest in northern Poland. And this is one of his 2 Maybach cars, which is worth about 20 million Taiwan dollars, who he got donated by a homeless person. Apparently. Seriously, that's a true story. He got 2 cars donated by a homeless person. That's why you can use that, because he doesn't have money. He's crazy, he's got money. It's all donations. So that's why a lot of people don't like church in some way, but the Christians, we believe, but church kind of, it's a little fishy. So, but we do pray. And martyrdom. 123 years out of the map, insurrections, trying to regain independence. So this is the main theme of Polish education. All the battles that we've lost and how great we were before. Like Westerplatte, when the World War II started, just before the Germans visited with a battleship, they had 3,000 soldiers over, right? We had an outpost of 100, 200 soldiers. They had airplanes and stuff. Everybody fought. Polish government literally fought. They just there to look. When the war started, they all died in like 5 hours. That's what they was expected for this month. They survived for 7 days and defended that outpost. And so we learned about all these things. But what it teaches you is to endure, not overcome. Like, hey, we were great before, so we've suffered, so we'll suffer from these hard times too. Just suffering in silence, right? Don't change it, just suffer in silence and everything will be okay, right? Because we were great before. But that's why, again, when I hear about 6th of January and insurrection in the United States where the Trump supporters took over the Capitol, voting, broke some stuff, I don't know, took some pictures and went away and the police chased them away. I am denying it under every single YouTube video and I will die on that hill because we have actual insurrections. Because insurrection is when you have organized attempt by army, by underground government, by organizations to take centers of power and take over the country, right? That was just a bunch of people who were unhappy and they did a stupid stuff, but that was riots at best. We had actual insurrections in which thousands of people died, and we had that many times. Like basically every generation, every 30 years, we do one. But that's why I actually finished film school as well. I have a film degree, and I wanted to be in movie industry, but Polish movies are like this. It's either about concentration camps, about dying in war, or a classic Polish drama. A mother of 3 children, 1 commits suicide, the husband is a drunk, beats her every day, she has 3 jobs and she hates life and she wants to kill herself too, but she goes to church and she thinks, oh, okay, the God works in mysterious ways, so I have to endure. That's the story of like every other classic Polish movie. There are some comedies and some action movies, of course, they're so totally there. I was like, I'm tired of that. Polish books. This is a top 5 out of 25 most important books by one of the biggest Polish newspaper, like a website. How we kill Jewish people during World War II. How we want to join the West, but we have a lot of bad history which we need to deal with. How we should resist Russians and Russian culture. How we killed Jews again during World War II. And how did we sleep over all the good parts and we were behind everybody. Which one of them sold in 15 million copies? What do you think? Any guesses? The last one? No, none of them. This one. Some of you know it, right? Polish fantasy book, which Polish fantasy is way different than Western fantasy. I'll get to this in a second. And based on that was the Witcher game, and then it became popular, and then they made a terrible Netflix show, which we all hate. We all Polish people hated. The first season was really okay, and then they screwed it up, and they did Henry Cavill badly. But yeah, so by the way, this one story, the writer of this book, when they made the game, they offered him, okay, you can get percentage from the earnings, or you can get, I don't know, it was like, I forgot the exchange and say, I don't know, $10,000 right? So what do you want? It's like, yeah, I'll take the cash. If you would take percentage, you would get like $60 million over time. And he was very upset about it because he didn't do video games at all. And then he took them to court, they gave him some money, and shut up. But yeah, so the thing is that Christianity actually, in its core, is actually lots of pagan traditions that they took over and dressed up. So things we celebrate, mistletoe, when you put on Christmas, and he said that's not Christian thing. That's Druids. That's coming from North power, from fertility holidays. No, sorry, that was actually means that was in April. Easter was coming from those pagan holiday of winter and fertility, the rebirth of the nature and everything. All those things. Santa Claus and its reindeers come from Nordic mythology and all that stuff. So it's all fake. But Western lullabies, like I said, they are there was a Jack and the magic bean, was that the name right? They found magic bean, goes to the giants, the adventure, comes back, victorious, everything's cool. Eastern Slavic lullabies. I like this quote from Chesterton, which is like, we're not teaching children that, they're dragons, they're cool. No, dragons exist. Now we need to learn how to kill them. That's what we teach. Slavic stories that I grew up with, it's not like, if you don't eat your veggies, you will be, I don't know what they say in West. In Eastern, we say, you don't eat your veggies, yes will come, pull out your eyes, eat them, and you will blind for the rest of your life, That's what we tell the children. Paul Nisa, if you're not a hard-working farmer, and you're, this will be usually a spirit of a woman that I think committed suicide or something like that in the countryside areas, and she would pound the fields. And if you were like, you're like a lonely farmer because you're lazy, you sleep under the tree, she would come and beat you up and sometimes kill you as well. So don't be lazy. Go to the people and work hard. We don't think like nightmares. No, nightmares are demons who come to you and feast on your fear. And they will also give you that fear and will spread. And again, so usually visiting lazy people, right? So you're lazy, and there will be an evil spirit that will hunt you at night and you will wake up without your breath, will steal your breath, literally. Those are funny stories. And hey, Christian tradition. I did this in elementary school. When the winter finishes, spring comes, we make a weak mannequin, and we set it on fire and drown it. Why? Because it's a pagan actually tradition of, killing the winter. But hey, it's Christian now, so, Same. The All Souls Day, when we go and, visit the dead, and so we have the same in April, actually, right? The Tomb Sweeping Day. But we also have, again, stay at home, be lazy this time. That's on the other side. Be lazy. Don't do anything because ghosts are walking on earth, and if you just walk around and work, you can go through them. That's not nice. You don't want to somebody walk through you. So sit at home, be lazy for the one day. That's kind of a nice thing to do. On first day, there's not really much I can say. It's an old boy day, but we eat donuts. That's the whole thing. We eat donuts. I don't even know the technically it's connected to Lent, right? When you don't eat from before Easter stuff, nobody cares. We like donuts. That's donut holiday. And those donuts are good. I don't hear so sweet that they're all punchy and light and soft, and you can eat like tons of them, you don't feel full. You eat like 2 of those donuts and like they have stones in your stomach. Delicious. St. Andrew's Day, fortune telling, very Christian. We put hot wax through the keyhole into the cold water, and right when it coalesces, we take out, look at it, what kind of shape it all. It looks like France. I'm going to France for holidays, yay, or something. You know, we see, oh, this looks like a handsome man. I have a nice boyfriend in the future or something. So, you know, very Christian, very Christian. Wet Monday, again, right? Easter Monday. Cleansing, we finish the not eating stuff and we throw water at each other, which again, within your family, you know, somebody wakes up early, sprinkle the water in your face, okay, ha. So there were always these guys, you go to work or school and, you know, they splash a bucket of water at you. And if it's like today, okay, well, it sucks, but you'll dry out before you get to work. This is from Poland from yesterday, okay? When it's 11 degrees, if you get bucket of cold water splashed at you, your day is ruined. You have to go back and change, or you'll get sick. So, you know, that's it. And now we're coming to, after all this, disappearing from the map, being betrayed, being put under the communist rule for half a century, and communists did all their best to kill professors, scientists, to steal everything, to suppress Polish identity, Polish culture, everything like that, right? You know, I found this Poland wall coming, and I like it very much. So, right, Russia used to be a big bad in Europe, right? And there used to be the Ottomans, which were a part of the historian story. And there was Napoleon, right, and the French who rolled over the Europe. I had to censor the part there, but then were the Germans, of course, right? Germans and the defeat of Nazi Germany put them in such a trauma that they're basically selling their country right now. That's another story. Then there's some growth, you know, in China and Russia again, and you know, but Chinese economy is actually not good, and Russia is not doing that great anymore as well, comparatively speaking. I saw a recent report from very reliable sources that basically estimates Russian lives lost, the soldiers, right, that died in war between 700,000 and 1 million by now. That's not good. But so, you know, who's the new big bad? Nobody is never going to hurt Poland again, because like I said, we do see ourselves. Is it true or not? That's a question for a lot of people to debate. But we do see ourselves as surrounded. There is war on our east side, Europe is becoming Muslim, and we see each other as one bastion of Christianity, and we will resist. And, you know, for the keeping the sovereignty and independence of the country, that's kind of good. But, you know, it poses some problems as well. And of course, West doesn't like us. We pay, if I remember correctly, yearly 580 million euro penalty because we do not accept Muslim refugees in Poland. We did take 6 million Ukrainians. Some of them left. I think there's about 2 to 3 million Ukrainians living in Poland right now. And we have no problems with them. I mean, there are problems, you know, because it's a big jump burden to the healthcare system, to the work market, and all that stuff. So we complain, of course, a bit, but we don't hate them. We don't say, hey, you know, throw them away, you know, they're stealing our land or something. No, because we have similar culture. We have basically the same language. The alphabet is different, but we can just speak Norway. They speak Ukrainian, I speak Polish, we can understand each other, right? So our culture and our identity is similar. So we don't throw them away. We don't hate them. And to end this with, again, so yeah, as Polish army, we did a lot of deals with Koreans. We consolidated our military industry because mine master thesis was actually about military industry and compare in strategic comparison between Poland and Russia or Germany, because those are our biggest threats, and Taiwan and China. And here's some data, and I would like you to try to guess. There are 3 European countries here, and that's their data, and 1 non-European country. Would you care to guess which European countries are here? Because, well, the rest of the world is too big, but which European countries you think are here? Any names? Right, so in one country, 600 tanks, 700, close to 700 artillery, 59 fighters, 300, 130, 130, 220, 70, 100. You can see the numbers, right? What do you think? So the last one, the biggest one, is that European country? Do you think, or is the one from outside? It's not Russia or America, of course, they have way more, or China. I'll cross the 3 big out of the way. Now, this is Poland. This is Germany. This is UK. That's Taiwan. Taiwan has more tanks than Germany and UK combined. Taiwan has more artillery than Germany and UK combined. Taiwan has more airplanes. This is jet fighters, not all the aircraft than UK and Germany combined. And when I hear Taiwanese people, or because some Taiwanese people, okay, they might not know, they don't research. When you say, oh yeah, China talks like we're done in a day, and I'm like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. I spent recently, and I got the flu. I had 2 days off, and my mom called me at like midnight because of time difference, because China did another driller on Taiwan or something. And are you okay? Actually, I wasn't like, she doesn't know, right? I spent 2 hours explaining it to her, like, no, we're pretty safe. And that's a big topic. I'm not going to start here, but in a few words, China could destroy Taiwan. They have nuclear weapons, they have lots of rockets. If they just want to destroy, again, they just blow everything up. Okay, they have enough rockets to do this. That China could locate Taiwan, because that's a different thing. Because they don't shoot, and that's like who starts first shooting, and it's a more tricky situation. And Taiwan was trying to invade Taiwan. Now, a good report from West Point, which is the best American military academy that I read a long time ago, defined when you attack, prepared, defended position of another right of your enemy that they know you're coming, to have a chance to count it as a successful mission, you need a 4-to-1 force number. And success is defined as 50% of actually taking the objective. So we have to have 4-to-1 forces, and that goes for land. When you attack through sea, it's way worse. And so it's actually not that easy to attack Taiwan. And I'm not going to go into that too much, but because look at Russia and Ukraine, they had something over 240 something, I forgot, 1,000 soldiers. They went through land and they still got stopped right at the start. It's a long story how and why, but they knew the Russians are coming. At least the government knew, not the people. And there are proofs for that. But that's why Poland is preparing, because like, okay, they feel, and we can hear, right? Trump is like, well, let's make a deal. Let's take all the Ukrainian resources, like you Russia take this side, we take control of the rare minerals. And so we're seeing West doing to Ukraine what they did to us before. And so we're not trusting them. We don't trust. And all these Baltic countries, we're next. If Russia doesn't stop here, we're next. These countries have a few million people. They have armies of like 10, 20,000 soldiers. That can't resist. Right now, these countries together, they're building like a new national line, like the defensive fortifications, and they're like, oh, Geneva Convention? No landmines? Yeah, we don't mind this. If they come, we need to stop them. And, I don't blame them. Same Poland, right? We disappeared from a month for 123 years. Then we got betrayed few times. We're not going to let into it again. So, that's kind of where we are now. Our economy is not bad. There is a big nationalist spirit in Poland, although there's a lot of, like, again, the western side of Poland pushing, no, we should be more open to Europe, we should take all the people, we should be open, right? Like I said, I have gay friends, I have no problem with that, but Poland is pretty homophobic. As in, like, it's Christianity is no, that's gay people, not good. There are some, like, mayors that made LGBT-free zones and stuff in the cities. So yeah, I'm not happy about that. I'm like, hey, what you do at your home, I'm okay with that. Like, that's your thing. But I do think that the public space should be generally free of either side of, like, these things. So, like public displays of affection and stuff. And what you do at home, like, freedom. But yeah, so Poland as a country, yeah, we're not super homophobic, but pretty, I would say, Christian, nationalistic. And again, because we see what's happening in Europe, we see what's happening here, it gets stronger. But it's still, because of some of those reasons, it's really quite safe country. I mean, not as safe as Taiwan, I would say, I think. But pretty safe in Europe. It's quite pretty. You have lots of good food. You can quite safely go and travel. Unless you go, I don't know, some dark alleys in a big city, after drinking for the whole night. Okay, well, that's in any city, bad things can happen. But if you just, sightsee, you'll be pretty safe. People will welcome you. If you ask people for help, people will help you, generally speaking. They'll be happy. Same like here. If I speak some Chinese, but no, I speak our language, yay! Because I fake, so everybody else thinks I don't speak any Chinese. So yeah, if you go to Poland, you say something or you know something about Poland, well, yeah, you know about Poland. Hey, let's come to my house and stuff about it. So I would say it's a nice country to visit. It's pretty safe. Lots of good food, lots of beautiful nature. If you like hiking and outdoors, other than that, yeah, I don't know what's really there to do, but we do have a beautiful nature. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Do you want to know about anything? Yes. You're also a little bit that, but no. So, first of all, actually, during the 16th, 17th, 18th century, Poland was known as a very, very tolerant country. Jews and other people were very persecuted in other countries. Poland was actually famous for, it was called country road states. That means we didn't burn witches at states. We were like, you have different religion? Cool. You pay taxes? You're okay. Germans didn't attack Poland because of they hated Jews and stuff. That was just a rhetoric to unify Germany. They just had that's a complicated question. Well, they had economic troubles, and this is one reason why I do think that China might do something stupid. Because when you have internal problems, economical problems, there's nothing better than an external enemy to unite you. And so that's kind of what Hitler did and Germany did. They did all the way from